The ANC's 5th National General Council kicks off today at the Birchwood Hotel and OR Tambo Conference Centre in Ekurhuleni. So ANC President Cyril Ramaphosa is also expected to address delegates and perhaps also just give a political overview. Now, the ANC says that this General Council is being held as a midterm policy and organisational review platform. Also, that it serves as the highest decision-making structure between national conferences, really focusing on policy refinement, socio-economic frameworks, organisational assessment, renewal, performance review, as well as engagement with the ANC Alliance. So for more on this, let's cross to SABC News anchor Ayanda Nyati. Ayanda, very good morning. Lots of action coming through from the venue there, of course, as this 5th NGC takes place. And it's an important one for the ANC ahead of local government elections this year. Perhaps you can bring us up to speed as to what's happening on your end as we await the address by President Cyril Ramaphosa momentarily as well.
Yeah, welcome to the Birchwood Hotel, Liesel, the focal point of what's already been described as a moment of reckoning for the ANC. Through the party's own admission, they faced their fair share of challenges to this point. Yesterday, Phil Mbalula speaking about a wide range of challenges, for example, that President Cyril Ramaphosa has had to deal with since he took up that very important post you speak about, from the COVID-19 pandemic to attacks from what he calls superpowers. And of course, he didn't need to mention names. We know that is a reference to the White House and all those unsubstantiated claims that have come from the presidency of Donald Trump, at least in the year gone by. So let's kind of take stock of where we are as we continue giving you a sense of what you can realistically expect from this gathering. Mswandile Mbeje is our politics editor here at the SABC News Channel and joins us now live from our media center here at the Birchwood Hotel. You know, most people slow down in December, not journalists, because here we are again covering it, another important conference, and it's crucial, especially when you think about the role of the ANC, not only in this country, but I think on the continent as well. There are things that officials from the party would want the country to talk about from this conference. But realistically, people are also looking in their own directions.
I think it's natural. A very good morning to you, Ayanda, and the viewers. It's natural. So when you host a party, obviously it's about you. Someone who is invited, yes, they may have a contribution, but at least that contribution must center around what you have offered. So it's going to be something similar here. But interestingly, Ayanda, is the fact that the ANC knows that, or models itself as the leader of society. So clearly, if you are the leader of society, you will have to take into account what society thinks of you, not just theoretically, but also practically. Every 5 years, we do go out to that society to test if we are still on the right track, and then that's what it has done. So as we sit here, you and I, last year the ANC was told by the society that things may not necessarily be going in the direction in which we want. That's why we are starting to take a little bit of our power. And that is the challenge that the ANC will face as it sits here. So how truthful will they be? How honest will they be in their reflections and deliberations about them as the party, about the country that they are part of leading, and about the society, obviously, and beyond. I mean, you've just mentioned in your intro there that there are many factors that have influenced the direction of what is happening in our country, as far as countries across the Atlantic have had a say in how we deal with our issues. So this is a very great opportunity for the ANC to then take stock of what they have done since their election in 2020, since the election of the country in 2024 up until now, especially Ayanda, because in the next year or so, they will be faced with another test from their society if they're still on the right track. Local government elections.
Absolutely. And once again, you know, there's all kinds of commentary around how this is a moment of reckoning for them if, in fact, they're able to turn around those fortunes. And if history is anything to go by, it's very hard for a party that's lost that ground to regain it.
It is. And, you know, earlier I was saying the ANC is in an advantageous position and perhaps a disadvantaged position at the same time. I will tell you why. Advantage, the fact that they still are part of, in fact, are actually part of of government, of the state, running matters. But then the advantage comes in the form of being there. Because now you find the very same people fighting for those resources amongst themselves. And they divert completely the attention of focusing on the mandate of being there. And then once you start to squabble amongst yourself, so someone else suffers, and perhaps that would be the electorate. Probably part of the reason why they are being accused of lack of service delivery, of corruption, and all those things. That is the kind of disadvantage. The question is, how do you use the fact that you have access, the fact that you've got resources for the benefit of greater good? Because that is who you are about. You have declared yourself as the parliament of the people, and those people need to benefit. And how do people benefit? People, it's in inverted commas, it's easy. People need to see services. People need to see an environment that is really open to them to do either business or anything that matters to them. People don't need to see or to hear about corruption that is eating at the very core of who they are. So that is what the ANC will be confronted with when they're looking into some of these things, because some of what have made them regress, it's related to those, to either perceptions or reality in some instances. But also they will have to deal with this thing of perceptions that perhaps they are interested in themselves. And then how do you turn that around? So you can, but you should have the political will. This is a political gathering. This is where you need to take decisions. Yes, we know you are reviewing what you have done and what you ought to do. But as a political gathering, have the political will to say, we've erred here, we've done right here, these are the marching orders. Don't just tell us. Put systems that will ensure that that is done. Perhaps one of the things that I can give them a little bit of credit for in terms of implementing. You know, if any of the senior members of the ANC were to be charged today, who is either serving in government or state, if he were to be charged today, so we know that on their own, they would step aside. And that is a positive on their side, because you can see. And once people are able to see things similar to theirs, to say, if we have decided on something, we do it with implementation, people will believe again.
Yeah, and I think, you know, most people, I think, will also point out that it took a while to get there, right? We've heard many instances where there's been this kind of push for accountability, and I suppose the ANC will point to that as them being true to their word. Yeah. But I want to just also continue juxtaposing the expectations versus what the ANC is hoping to focus on today. And part of the main points from their base document is around taking stock of 30 years of our democracy, the characterization of the crisis that they say, this concept that, you know, it's rooted in structural inequalities, race, poverty, unemployment as well, class issues, organizational renewal, the balance of forces. Yeah. You know, we've heard about those things a few times, and I often wonder what this means to ordinary South Africans. You know, this concept of the national democratic revolution. If I were to stop somebody on the side of the road, even perhaps a stone's throw from where we are, and ask them for their take on that, I wonder if they have a grasp of what these issues are.
Obviously, this is at the ideological level. As a political party, it's fine. That will then give them direction in terms of where they want to take this country to. But to an ordinary man and woman in the street, this is what it should mean. It should mean you are able to create a society where everyone will feel they're equal, where everyone will feel they matter, where everyone will feel they do get basic service, where everyone will feel he or she has an opportunity to get an employment as long as he or she qualifies, where everyone feels when he or she walks on the streets of South Africa is safe, where everyone will feel that in South Africa the possibilities are there. It's up to you what you do with them, because the environment would have been created by exactly those ideals. If you say the national democratic revolution, you want to create the National Democratic Society. So you basically want to create a society that will feel at ease, that will have access, that will be able to do what it wants. Remember, Ayanda, when all is said and done, it's about basic things.
Yeah.
It's about you being able to feed yourself, feed your family, do small things, go on holiday, go visit people. You know, it's about small things when all is said and done. You must be able to afford bread. It must not be an issue. You must be able to visit your friend without looking on the other side because you are not safe. Once you create that democratic society, that it's your ideal, you put systems in place. You ensure that security is, criminality is dealt with thoroughly. You ensure that your education is of quality, is not just education for the sake of it. You ensure that if I'm sick, I don't have to spend millions of money to get treated. I go to a public hospital. I'm able to be served with care I have all day.
Because you pay taxes.
Yeah, because
Right.
I pay taxes. That is the kind of society they are wishing to create. How do you do that? You put the systems. You have the will. You start with the political will. A gathering of this nature is the start of getting there. But if you will gather and talk about it, and then after Thursday, and then you do a press conference, and then it's all nice, come January, perhaps you repeat the same things, but in terms of action, you don't do it, it will be a futile exercise.
Yeah, and something tells me the senior officials of the party are aware of the skepticism. You know, Fikile Mbalula yesterday used the term, we don't want this to be an expensive talk shop, because that is kind of the climate, right? There is a sense of pessimism because of the state of the economy, because of what we've heard over the past few months from both the Matlanga Commission and the ad hoc committee. You know, rampant crime comes top of mind. Poverty is still deeply entrenched in our society.
Yeah.
And the ANC is aware that in many ways, people will look to them to provide solutions to those problems because of the role they've played and because of how they've positioned themselves in society.
Yes, in fact, despite them getting 40%, you look at perhaps reasons why, and you realize that actually a lot of people did not vote. So what does that tell you? Yes, there are options on the table, but it does still tell you that perhaps the majority still thinks the people who can maybe solve our problems are these ones. But at the moment, what they are doing is not what we like. So what do? We either sit home, or of course there will be those who will go and vote, but others will sit at home. Of course there will be those who will then switch sides. But the majority is that they decide not to vote. Why? The people we have entrusted with the responsibility to do things on our behalf are not doing what we want. Yes, I mean, let's not take away the fact that a lot, by the way, has been done by the ANC. I know we are focusing mainly on the negative in this discussion for now, but there's a lot that has been done. Access, I mean, when they came to power, how many people had access to water, had access to electricity? Right now, that is just an issue. Okay, never mind that we've been having our own issues around those matters. But the generality of the argument, or I'm putting forward, is that a lot more has been done. I mean, but doing that does not mean your job is done.
Absolutely.
Especially if every 5 years you still want to be returned back to power. Do what you have done, expand it, and perhaps the difficulty of the ANC, Ayanda, is that you know, in the modern day language, is that it sometimes fails to multitask. So you expand access to things like social relief, which is very good. And then somehow you neglect certain issues like our roads, which generally are not in a very good state. So instead of expanding those social relief to everyone, but also maintaining and expanding the services that are there. So that's all you need to do. They just need to be able to multitask, because they have done so well in so many other areas, of course, not so well in others.
Yeah, I mean, and the president gave, I think, an account which I think was quite fair yesterday when he spoke about, South Africa being removed off the grey list. We are seeing green shoots as far as the economy's growth, not where we want it to be, but at least moving in the right direction, et cetera, et cetera. We've got 4 days to take stock of all of these, and we certainly will do that for you as we continue with our coverage here of the ANC's 5th National General Council.